Hi Cancer, welcome to a special full moon reading. There's going to be a full moon on October 13th, and this is at 20 degrees of Aries. For Cancer, this is falling in your career sector. And so the 10th house, and the full moon can bring some sort of recognition career-wise to Cancers. You're also ruled by the moon, so it's only fitting that I should choose you first to do this reading. And so I'm sorry that the card's already laid out. I'm starting over again. I don't know. I think I was screwing up the meaning of the first position. I probably could have just corrected myself, but I started over again. So this spread is from a website called emeraldlotusdivination.com. I did a reading for your sign for twin flames recently, and that was from that site as well. Okay, so the first position is a success that you will enjoy during this lunar phase, and this is connected to possible career, because we have the wands present here. There's also the person holding the globe. So sometimes this can be a decision about whether or not to relocate. And in terms of success, like I said, because the full moon is falling in the 10th house, it could be some kind of career matter. Maybe you had to make a choice about, let's say, accepting a promotion, which could certainly happen during a full moon in the 10th house. And you were a little bit apprehensive because you didn't want to relocate, and now you're kind of like all systems are go. You're being adventurous, you know, that's kind of fire energy, is to be adventurous rather than being overly cautious and afraid of expansion. And so something along those lines, you might be starting a partnership with somebody, and you know, you finally convince them to join you or what have you. So the next position is something I should set my intention toward. And so it's interesting that on this site, they're talking about setting intentions on the full moon. You know, usually I hear that with the new moon. And if you know anything about this, if you are a pagan, you know, or somebody who does know quite a bit about the moon phases and the or whatever people are doing, this kind of, if you want to call it magic or what have you, right below, like, why setting intentions during the full moon is a thing. Because what I have heard is that this is the harvest time, although I've also heard that's a very powerful manifestation in general, so I could see why you would set intentions. So this card is connected to being like a work horse. So this card is connected to the sign of Taurus, of the earth signs. Pentacles is earth energy. And really it's just about getting up and working hard and doing it consistently. So again, the first two cards that I have drawn have a career and work vibe to them. With the Knight of Pentacles, I think it's more of the rhythm of it, where you're just flowing with this kind of work ethic. And perhaps you have a specific goal why you are doing this. Maybe there's a certain purchase that you're trying to make, like a down payment on a house or something very practical and tangible. And so with the Two of Wands, accepting a maybe like a promotion or an overseas assignment can get you there quicker, but you also have to apply yourself. Something you should avoid during this phase. This is number 3. This is interesting because this is the Ten of Pentacles. Now, I don't know about that, because this is like about big money and things along those lines. The only thing I can say is, first of all, this card, to me, it speaks to the sign of Capricorn, which is your opposite sign. And I say that because Capricorn rules the 10th house. We have the Roman numeral 10, and is an earth sign. I don't know specifically if this card represents Capricorn, but it's definitely earth energy, and it's actually connected to family money. So, for instance, if you're a lot of Cancer people are very tied into their families and maybe even their in-laws, and maybe they're trying to bribe you to keep you here so you don't move, and you might be tempted because then you don't have to work as hard. But in terms of autonomy, which is what, you have these wands, that's like freedom and independence, and that is something that right now might be something you need to cultivate so that you are not allowing other people to control you with money. 4, a challenge you will soon face. We have the 4 of Swords. This is a card of rest, rejuvenation, kind of taking a chill, chilling out. And in terms of a challenge, maybe there's going to be the inability for you to do that, and you might feel like you need a break and you're working very hard. So perhaps the challenge is finding a way to create downtime when you're working long hours, if that's true for you. And the only thing I can say about that is that I think it's possible if you let go of non-essential kinds of activities. Like maybe you're vegging out in front of the television set when you get home, and that could be a time when you could be kind of changing your bed habits so that you go to bed earlier and you wake up earlier and you have more time to meditate, or because the 4 of Swords can be about getting away from it all. Now, if you're working like the Knight of Pentacles, that this is just a temporary thing, maybe because it's a temporary assignment and they need to do something very in a short period of time, and so you might be kind of marshaling your forces and working overtime. But long-term types of working, many hours is probably inadvisable, because eventually people do burn out, and then what happens is then they can't even do the regular workload, and so it doesn't make any sense in the long run. 5, a helpful resource I should seek that will lead me towards my life purpose. Oh, that's interesting. So we have the 9 of Wands. Okay, well, I can draw a parallel or a connection to the 4 of Swords and the 9 of Wands. To me, this is kind of like being self-contained and kind of, establishing boundaries. So whether it's a resource or not, I don't know, unless there's a fire sign individual, a Leo, an Aries, or a Sagittarian, who is able to guide you, like a life coach type of a person, or if they are an intuitive, if they have like some kind of a intuitive service that they provide. But if this has nothing to do with an individual specifically, it could be a practice that you need to do along with the 4 of Swords, where you are kind of like setting boundaries so that other people do not infringe on your free time, especially if your free time is very limited, and so that you can use that time for self-reflection, because that's what I see with the 4 of Swords. And I even think with the 4 of Swords that it might be related to also to social media, like doing a fast, cutting back on that, and tuning into your higher self and your inner light, if you will, to kind of guide yourself. Really, that's the important way to kind of figure out what your purpose is, rather than looking to someone outside of you. And yet a lot of times Cancers have set up their lives so that they are kind of caretakers in some way. And maybe you need more me time and less caretaking activities. So maybe you need to scale that back. And the first step is it's kind of creating like a fortress around yourself. Not in a way that you're, closing down your heart and things like that, but that you're taking care of yourself as a high priority. While you still have the North Node transiting your sign, Cancer, this is a time to really look at the symbols around you of like nudges from the universe about which direction you may need to be going in. Okay, 6, an effective way to raise your vibration. And this is interesting. This is the 6 of Swords. This is like leaving a stressful environment for a peaceful situation. And one thing I want to say about this is, I believe it was Kelly Rosano. She's an astrologer. I love her. She's one of my favorites. And I think it was her who said that every time you move, you raise your vibration. Now, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't just take what somebody says at face value as being true, but it makes sense in a certain way, because when you experience something new, you're expanding. You're not in this narrow little box. And so for people that are kind of homebodies, like Cancers, that might be quite a threatening concept or something that you would reject out of hand. But if you have the opportunity to travel, perhaps with work, then you might really find that it takes you to a new level spiritually. But I do have to say that this particular card, although it is connected to relocation, it also is this idea of choosing peace in your life. So it could be if you're in this kind of a conflicted oriented relationship, that you will raise your vibration if you leave, because that person may be dragging you down. And a special message from the universe. The 10 of Cups, happily ever after. This is the pot at the end of the rainbow. So all's well that ends well. This can be like having a happy ending to some situation. It's actually a marriage card and a family happiness card. So I didn't even go into that possibility of this being some kind of a relationship issue. But, maybe there's I'm trying to think of what position that 3 of Pentacles. Maybe that was a Capricorn they were supposed to be avoiding. I don't know. A Capricorn person. But anyway, this is a card of, having a happy family, having the things you want coming to fruition. And perhaps this is a long time coming for some Cancers. Maybe you've been really working hard at something and not seeing the results, and now all of a sudden your ship comes in. I certainly hope so. But in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.